Okay, so the first thing we're going to look for is the blood vessels and the ureter. Now this one doesn't have a really good ureter. It does have nice blood vessels. This is an artery, and that's could be the ureter, but it's awfully stretched out, but that's probably the ureter. You should see the ureter covered with fat. There should be a very fatty tissue around it. So that's the renal artery, that's the ureter, that's a lymph node, and there should be a capsule on the outside, but there isn't. Then you open it up and you have the cortex, where 80% of your nephrons start. And these blue and red vessels are the radiate vessels. Those are the ones that supply the nephrons. These are the radiate ones. Or the nephrons empty into the blue ones. The red ones supply the nephrons.
So you're going to ask radiate?
Yep, that's one of the blood vessels I might ask. These are the arcuates. These are the interlobar veins and arteries. And those are really the only ones I might ask. The interlobar, which are in the renal columns, the arcuate, which arch around the pyramids, and the radiate.
Where's the pyramids?
These are the pyramids.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the cortex where 80% of your nephrons start. That's why all these blood vessels are up here. And this is the medulla. And the medulla has the pyramids in it. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 pyramids. Okay, these are the papillae of the pyramids. See these little balls? And then these are the renal columns. These are the renal pyramids. This is the renal pelvis, where the urine's going to drip out into the ureter. And then this tissue, this light tissue, is all transitional epithelium. Once the urine drips through these papillae, then the tissue that it touches is going to be all transitional epithelium. So you can see it in the ureter, you can see it in the pelvis, you can see it in the calyx, which surrounds the papilla. And like these tips of the pyramids are also papilla. You can kind of see it here. There's a papilla there, and there's a papilla there. This is some more transitional epithelium here. And this is another papilla here. So the pyramid drips into the papilla, and then the pyramids are striped because of the collecting ducts. These are all collecting ducts that are in the pyramids. So you have cortex, medulla, pyramids in the medulla, collecting ducts in the pyramids. The pyramids end in nipples, which are papillas, and they're surrounded by the kidney calyx.
Where's the kidney calyx?
This is the minor calyx. It holds the nipple.
Oh, it just...
It suspends it. And it keeps the urine away from this tissue up here, because the nipple drips through the calyx into the pelvis, and this is all transitional epithelium. So the urine's not dripping out until it hits the transitional epithelium.
Okay.
Okay? So the pyramids all end in papillas. The papillas are supported by the calyces. The calyces form the pelvis, and the pelvis drips into the ureter. Okay? And that's what you need to know. Cortex, medulla, medulla with the pyramids with the collecting ducts. The tip of the pyramid is the papillae. The papillae is supported by the calyx. The calyces drip into the pelvis, and the pelvis drips into the ureter.
So the calyces is all of that?
All of this
with
transitional epithelium. Mm-hmm.
So calyces is pretty much transitional epithelium?
Yes, that's where it starts. And then it goes through the ureters, the bladder, and the urethra. All are transitional. And urethra.
Yep.
This is some transitional epithelium here.
Okay.
And there's fat underneath it. There's a lot of fat. See, this is all fat. And that's why the ureter has fat around it, because I think that's, yeah, see, that's that one. It's really stretched out of shape. It's usually not that stretched out of shape. But if I continue on, I'm going to go into that one. It's just not working. I'm not positive that this is
all those color things right there again?
These are the veins and arteries. These are the renal veins. These are the radiate veins and arteries. These are the arcuate veins and arteries. See the ones arching? That means arching, arcuate. And these are interlobar. And those are in the these are called renal columns, and that's where the interlobar ones are. See, this is partially transitional epithelium in case the urine backs up a bit into the columns. That's also a bit, the transitional meets the kidney tissue up there. Interlobar, arcuate, radiate.
You gotta say interlobar.
Arcuate or radiate.
That's it.
Those are
You don't
the
have
blood
to-
vessels?
What?
Those are the blood vessels?
There's nothing
those
you
are
have
the
to
blood
say
vessels.
after it. Just
No.
Blood vessels.
interlobar.
No, veins and arteries, you know, because you'll have both in every place. These are,
can you go over
again,
that
80% of the nephrons start in the cortex.
Can
That's
you go over
that's why and that's where when we saw it on the screen, you saw all those renal corpuscles. They were up here, and that's why you know that's cortex, because you'll see all the renal corpuscles.
Can you go over the blood vessels one more time?
The blood vessels are, well, there's an artery and a vein, but we're only seeing the artery here. There's an artery here.
The
No,
arcuate
wait.
stuff.
There's an artery there, but there's another one here too. That's an artery. This is probably the vein, and this is probably the ureter, but it's too chopped up. This is probably the vein right there. Renal vein, renal artery, and ureter, which usually has fat around it, but it's really stretched out of shape.
Radiate.
Radiate are up here. Those are supplying or taking away from the nephron.
Okay. Supply and taken away from nephrons. Radiate. Arcuate.
And then arcuate are the arching ones, see, like that. You can see them around the edges of the pyramids. Radiate, arcuate, interlobar.
So you just say that. You don't say nothing else after it.
No,
Just
it's fine.
Radiate, arcuate,
Or interlobar.
That's it.
Yep. And the papillae can look like dots, like that, or they can look like this. But they're the tips of the
And what you
pyramids.
say you call it again?
That's a papillae.
Instead of papillae, you said something else. You said
The calyx is around it.
Okay, calyx.
That's what, it's like a baby nipple. If you popped it out, you'd have
Yep.
that ring. The ring is the calyx, and the nipple is the papilla. Because that's what papilla means, nipple. That's pretty good.